on the whole, people are searching for a different story than is being told in the media. And people like to hear there is a lot of business as usual going on. San Diego and Tijuana will continue to be linked no matter what happens, no matter what wall is created.
Hired on when George W. Bush was president, Barack Obama, and now Donald Trump. 3 different opinions on how to deal with illegal immigration. If you asked any agents, our job has, for the most part, remained the same.
I've been connected in one way or another to the border for 25 years. I've known hundreds and hundreds of families. These people's lives, almost without exception, are shaped fundamentally, in my experience, by faith, family, and work. Those are the driving values of La Cultura Fronteriza.
So I think as a continuation of his story, and I don't know how adventurous you are, but I'd love to walk you across the border. I think it would be super beneficial to
That's all TJ, and specifically Colonia Libertad, will be right directly to our south. Like I said, I'm Ravi Schiller, originally from McAllen, Texas. Applied to the Border Patrol. In 2006, I got hired and was stationed out here in San Diego. Hired on when George W. Bush was president, and we had Barack Obama, and now Donald Trump. 3 different opinions on how to deal with illegal immigration. Our job really hasn't changed that much. Immigration laws haven't changed. Congress hasn't passed any changes. So maybe just some small, minor changes, but the job has, for the most part, remained the same.
I'm Ray Ocampo. I'm a Border Patrol agent at a El Cajon station here in San Diego sector. I was originally born in the Philippines. I came here when I was 4 years old in 1985 after my grandparents petitioned for my mom and I to come here. So once I naturalized in 2008 and became a United States citizen, started applying to many agencies, one of which was the Border Patrol, and who ultimately called me first and offered me a position here in San Diego, and I quickly took it. I'm currently working in our community engagement office. Definitely the people you come across, for lack of a better term, are poor, and they're coming here for economic reasons. So you have a ton of sympathy for the people, especially because I have families still in the Philippines who probably have no means to come over to the United States, but who live in kind of squalid conditions too. So it kind of breaks your heart sometimes. But with that said, you've taken an oath, so your job is to kind of identify people, and it's not so much you're saying as far as it's part of the law. Ultimately, our job has been to mainly identify every single person crossing through places other than the port of entry. So that's really our focus. As an immigrant myself one time, I definitely feel there is a legal and an illegal way to enter a country. And my family has done it the right way. And I'm not saying that the process is perfect by any means, but there certainly is a legal way to do it. And I think that's kind of just where we find ourselves now. And then the community behind us is Colonia Libertad. This portion of Colonia Libertad is one known for more poverty, but also a lot of crime was in there back in the 80s and 90s, and this is where they wanted to smuggle people across the border. Their main goal was just to prey on the people trying to cross the border illegally. The Border Patrol presence, especially at nighttime, would have been minimal, just because it wouldn't be uncommon to see 100, 200 people milling about here, and one Border Patrol agent wasn't going to go down in there by himself or herself. Then starting in 94 is when you can see the 2 fences out here, the light towers. You can see a couple of camera towers way out in the background. That's when all that came in. Now the Border Patrol had access to this area, and that's when we started to see pretty much a rapid decline in the number of people crossing through here. We saw a decline in the number of crimes being committed in the canyons. I would say most people in San Diego would say we successfully took back over control of the border. But some people ask us, is there any reward for it? I think it is when we arrest someone who has that arrest warrant out for sexual abuse of a minor, and we know
we prevented that person from making entry in the United States. Hopefully we're going to be able to lock that person up in jail for a couple years. That public safety aspect of it, when you seize drugs and you know some of those drugs are going towards your schools, and we both have young daughters that we know could be affected by drugs. I think that's where we take the satisfaction. As the Border Patrol, we present one side of everything. It is a very complicated issue. It's like a tangled ball of yarn. You're pulling on one, and there's all these knots in there, and other ends of the strand. So, I don't know what the solution is. I think we have trouble identifying what the problem is even at this point. There's also then the whole back end, which we don't deal with. We're kind of the front end of illegal immigration. We're that initial contact. What are we doing on the back end as far as hiring immigration judges, finding more bed space, or ways to ensure people are showing up to their asylum hearings, seeing their immigration judges? What are we doing for that? That's another piece of the puzzle. So I would say that's, wouldn't you say like that's kind of more frustrating part? We'll get people coming in saying, we're being invaded. And we are?
You're like, why who?
And then we also have people coming in saying like, how could you guys do your job? And it's like, it's pretty easy how we do our job. Like, you get paid, you clock in, We have been asked like, how do you sleep at night doing your job? I always tell them, I don't sleep well at night when I know a group got away from me, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, was there an MS-13 gangbanger? Was there a sex offender in that group that got away? Because I don't know. When I catch the people, we got to bring them back to the station. We got to find out, and I know, hey, we did catch a gangbanger, or hey, these were just 4 people looking to come in and make a better living.
Yeah.
But I think both those attitudes, they reside on the fringe of the debate. Unfortunately, they seem to be the loudest voices we hear. And a rational solution to illegal immigration, or a workable solution to illegal immigration, needs to be based on rational thoughts and not emotional responses.
Yeah.
San Diego and Tijuana will continue to be linked no matter what happens, no matter what wall is created. Families will continue to live on both sides. People will continue to cross both north and south to go to jobs. Friends from Tijuana who cross to San Diego often tell me they like to go to Dave & Buster's, or they like to go to Balboa Park, or they like to go to Fashion Valley. There are certain things to do recreationally that are not available in the same way. And the same is true in reverse. There is art and culture and food, creative expression in Tijuana that we simply don't have in San Diego. So that makes it worth it, because there's in such close proximity, in 15 miles difference or distance, there is so much more that you can have. So if you have like a best of both worlds mentality, why wouldn't you take advantage of what's available for both? But there's so much that we are so bound, and we have invested so much in reducing the transaction costs of interacting as 2 cities, Tijuana and San Diego. There's much more work to be done there, but there is so much that cannot be undone. The increased attention to it and the increased national and international attention creates a moment of great opportunity to offer an alternative story. And I can't think of a border cities better positioned than San Diego, Tijuana to tell a different story to the rest of the world by showcasing how many positive reasons there are to cross back and forth every day, and how much of a positive opportunity it is to be a person of both sides. That transitions to a second thought, which is this sort of front door mentality. So we have a backdoor entry to the US when we have a huge opportunity to have a really welcoming front door.
Instead of looking at San Diego, Tijuana, and the border as a political environment, I look at it as an economic environment. I think it's one of the things that drew me to working with this company on specifically this project, which is a boutique hotel smack dab in the middle of downtown Tijuana. Because most of the people that are traveling down there and back they're going down there to spend money, and they're coming up here to spend money or make money. So I think that was the most exciting piece of working with this company, viewing the region as one. So we want to encourage people to spend one day in San Diego and very easily go to Tijuana as a part of that. So I grew up in a border town when I was young, and so I used to cross every week, and that's kind of where I spent the first few years of my life. And my sister still lives over there, so I'll go visit. So the border has always been a piece of my family history too. Hello? Yeah. Another fun example of. Jeez. Yeah, this is a basic concept of all the rooms. Just in general, like leaving a little bit of the old and a little bit of the new. I just helped out. I took a design plan and I made sure that people followed the plan. That was my role in this. So it was a hotel before. They had a little reception desk and everything. And we just put it up on Airbnb because we liked the option to be able to see people's reviews before they stayed here. We wanted to help kind of curate, a different quality of hotel guest than maybe some of the hotels that are on the strip. And that sounds a little vague, but sometimes a lot of the places around here are like rent by the hour, and things happen there that aren't the most positive. So we tried to avoid that by going on Airbnb, and it's been really cool to see the just super creative people that stay here in Tijuana.
Nice.
And we'll go up to the rooftop.
One day we'll turn this into a functioning rooftop for our guests.
Like a rooftop bar?
Maybe some community yoga. I want it to be that.
Yeah, no.
Something for our guests. Kind of like a deck, rooftop deck with maybe a
Artificial
small
turf on half of it, and
maybe a little bar at night.
You're gonna use that toilet over there?
Yeah, we can make that a little restaurant.
Put the sign up.
Maybe some hammocks. Love that.
A taco bar?
A taco bar? I said a toast bar.
Toast and taco.
alright, hey, nos vamos.
Vámonos! I was born here, and then we didn't move to San Diego until like I was 8. I mean, Tijuana has changed so much since I used to live here, where like quality, where quality is very different than what it was back then, and like there's just so much more life. Okay, go. Yep. There's just so much more that Tijuana has to offer now that I wouldn't be opposed to moving back. You get so much more. Like what I pay for my 2-bedroom apartment in Hillcrest, I could get like a 4-bedroom house here with backyard, with like everything, all of the above. So it's something also like that I think about. So it's like, what do I like? Do I like living in a 2-bedroom apartment, or do I want to live and still be able to save money living down here? And with the border being so accessible, I think it is a possibility, but who knows? I think in the past, it's been like 2 years. In the past 2 years, traffic in TJ has just been ridiculous. Kind of like if you're in LA or Mexico City kind of thing. And I feel like it's just getting worse, where it's just the amount of people, the amount of stuff that they're adding on or removing from the streets are just, it's too much, and the government, I don't think it's doing a good job in managing all of that. They're getting more cars, people are driving more instead of taking public transportation, or which, to be honest, I've never taken public transportation here in TJ, and I don't think I would ever.
Have you seen the glorietas?
¿Qué son glorietas?
Roundabouts?
Oh,
I think it's what it's called, right?
I love those.
In the roundabout is when I say that my most like cursing and shit is from roundabouts, because nobody knows how to do them. And I'm not being sarcastic.
Yeah, he is not being.
Nobody knows how to use them.
Are they relatively new, or is it always?
No, they've been here forever. They were made when this city was made. They just, people don't care and they just don't follow anything. We're gonna go to that one too, the Calimax. So that's the glorieta right there, and you can see Cuauhtémoc, one of the Aztecs, the first Aztecs of this country. We're gonna go to there. We're gonna go to Calimax. Or you wanna go to Walmart? This is a roundabout. Nobody knows what to do. Lights don't work. People don't know what to use or what to do or why they're staying like that, and then people are gonna probably like cross me right now and be like, oh, I want to go this way instead of that way. So yeah, and then that statue, the lights should be on.
Oh, really?
They're not on. I don't know why. Maybe they just didn't want to be put
Go forth and
So
freestyle.
how long have these lights not been working, Juan?
like 5 years. around 5 years. Yep. Look, they don't even know what to do.
Nope.
I'm supposed to be like this way, and this lady is just cutting me because she says I want to, and then this guy's gonna come in. Yeah. So
That's how you go through a roundabout.
yeah, that's how you go through it, because nobody knows what to do. Que se vea bien. Te confío en ti. Me gusta llegar aquí porque este lugar es, la verdad, uno de los mejores lugares para cortar el cabello. O sea, Blanca tiene un servicio así súper mega completo, excepcional. Y pues, o sea, no he visto lugar en Estados Unidos que pueda darte un servicio así y dejarte el cabello muy bien, y además tomarte un tequila y tomarte una cervecita aquí mientras andas en el relax. Y además pues también es un servicio relajante, porque me acuerdo quién fue cuando vine la otra vez que había dicho que fue Jesús, que dijo ningún proceso debe de doler, nada debe doler, todo debe ser bueno o algo así, no me acuerdo qué era.
Es una experiencia.
Ajá, es una experiencia, es an experience, and the experience should be good.
A mí me encanta la cultura de México. Cuando estoy en los Estados Unidos, como dije, todos están dando hacer su trabajo, pero acá todos están dando hacer el mejor, haciendo la mejor experiencia, el mejor corte de pelo, la mejor comida, porque siendo lo mejor es que traiga a la gente, pero allá es más, saben que lo vas a hacer, pues porque van a tratar. Why are they gonna try? Sí, no, veo muchos americanos que vengan acá. Creo que, pero es más en los fines de semana, pero gente como yo y Juan venimos durante la semana porque es más fácil para cruzar el regreso a los Estados Unidos. Y es más como una experiencia, ahorita que estamos en Tijuana, que vivimos nosotros en San Diego. Hemos notado como que media hora para cruzar y comer bien. Y un porcentaje del precio. Mira, ahorita gastamos que 400 pesos. That's about $20. For $20 in the US, it's just a haircut. But over here, like, it's the whole experience. Like, you not only get a haircut, but like she also does my nails, face mask, cucumbers on my eyes. She also fixes my eyebrows. And like in general, it's just a bigger experience instead of just one single thing.
personas cortan mucho más americanos o los mexicanos?
Igual, 50-50, pero por la mayoría aquí mexicana.
Oh yeah, we adopt everyone as family here. Because Mexicans, los mexicanos somos muy cálidos como personas. Somos muy muy entregados, sí, pues alguien que quiere darte un buen servicio y que quiere darte como cuando yo invito a gente a la casa que soy así como que vamos todos, hay que comer y we're very warm about it.
People making decisions inspired by those values, faith, family, and work, is more than anything what I see on a kind of ongoing basis, yeah. At the center of Friendship Park is this monument, the historic marker, which was the original boundary marker between the United States and Mexico. At that time, on either side of the monument were just a thick fence. It was much more durable material than a chain link fence. It was kind of metal grate, but it was very visible. You could see through easily. You could buy a tamale through the fence from a vendor in Mexico, and families could meet up and have a meal together and exchange gifts and so forth. And there was no border wall other than the grated metal fence. So it was really a very public space, a very accessible space, and a very open space where this long-standing tradition of meeting up with family and friends and visiting across the line was still very much a part of the place.
And when did that start to change? Because on our visit, we couldn't even get fingertips.
Yes. So the sequence of events there, which I witnessed, and it was during this period of time that we formed the Friends of Friendship Park to try to protect public access to the park. Because in 2005, Congress passed the Real ID Act. This was an immigration enforcement act about identification, but they attached a rider to that act that authorized the Department of Homeland Security to waive any and all laws deemed necessary to expedite the construction of border wall. They had never been able to build that double wall system all the way out to the beach, to the coast where Friendship Park is, because the land on the U.S. side, the westernmost land on the U.S. side, belonged to California state parks. So it was state property, and it was protected land, what amounts to a wilderness preserve, the Tijuana estuary. So there were all kind of laws, environmental laws, Native American preservation laws, labor laws, and other laws that prevented them from building the second wall, the double wall, all the way to the coast. But with the passage of that rider to the 2005 Real ID Act, the federal government could just waive all those laws, and they did. They waived about 35 laws, just wrote them off the books. Really was just a massive erasure from the books. It was a kind of a carte blanche to build walls. And simultaneously, the federal government took the land adjacent to the border from the state of California by eminent domain. So the federal government took the land from the state of California and then built the second wall all the way to the beach. And simultaneous to that, on the primary barrier, the fence right on the international boundary, that's when they put up the thick metal mesh that is there now. Very tight, as you experienced, you can just barely put a fingertip through, barely touch. And of course that prevents, and this was the objective, prevents people from passing anything through back and forth across the fence. And during those years is when we were told that technically, according to U.S. Customs law, it's a violation of the law to pass anything across the border without it being inspected by a U.S. Customs official. So to pass something across the border between ports of entry is technically a violation of customs law. So for instance, when I first started serving communion there in 2008, technically to pass the bread back and forth, or to pass the cup back and forth through the fence was a violation of U.S. Customs law. And we were informed that was actually, anything that passed back and forth they called contraband. I always kind of liked the idea that the bread and the cup were contraband in the eyes of U.S. Federal law. Somehow that pleased me. I don't know why it did, but it did, yeah. Because when they first announced that they were going to build the double wall system out there, they said there was going to be no more Friendship Park. They were just going to close off public access, no more meetings, no more monument, or no more access to the monument, no more public meeting space. And the Friends of Friendship Park really mobilized around opposing that announcement and attempting to secure some kind of a compromise that would at least allow the public to access the space. And it was that back and forth with San Diego Border Patrol that resulted in the arrangement, which still exists today, which Border Patrol opens the little gate in the second exterior wall on Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that allows a limited number of people to enter on the U.S. side into the federal property and get right up against the primary barrier covered with a thick mesh, and allows friends and families to at least touch fingertips and have a conversation up close and personal. The majority of families that come to Friendship Park, they're obviously choosing to meet up at Friendship Park because they don't have any other recourse. If they could meet up some other way, they would. And the vast, vast majority of these families, the people who come in the United States, are not undocumented. If you're undocumented, you probably don't want to go down there. Places crawling with Border Patrol agents. But these are families or people living in the United States who, for different reasons, can't exit the country. They have an immigration status, for instance, that doesn't allow them to leave the country. Or they have an immigration case pending before the courts, and the courts tell them, if you leave the country, you lose your standing before the court. Or maybe they're trying to work on the immigration of a family member, and they're fearful that if they leave the country that may compromise their application for their family member. So for all those reasons, there are many, many, many people, I've never seen an accurate estimate of how many, but I suspect it might be millions, of people in the United States who, for a variety of reasons, can't leave the country without compromising their legal status. And when people like that have family members in Mexico who can't get a visa to come to the US, then Friendship Park becomes the only place that they can actually see each other. So during these years, when they first announced that they were going to close Friendship Park and when they began to build the double walls, it was clear that many, many families were going to lose access to what, for some of them at least, was the only place they could see their loved ones. You know, this is the only place that they could actually see each other in person.
Ariel?
Yeah. I'm Joel.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Mexico, from Michoacan, but I've been living here in San Diego for 29 years. Pretty much most of my life.
You said you didn't get to see your family today?
Not today. Yesterday I saw them for a few hours and then I had to go to work, so I had to leave. When the road is open and it's not wet, you get here in 15 minutes. But since now it's closed off, you have to do that long walk through the beach. It's about a 40-minute walk. And then you drive, and I drive like another 25 minutes back.
And then if you have a baby.
I mean, I carried the baby this time, you know. That's my niece.
So why does she come?
She loves to see her grandparents, so that's why she brings her over. We have the DACA, so that's the only reason why we're able to stay. But my niece, she's an American citizen. She was born here. So she has no problem going back and forth. But my mom is there, my dad is there, my grandparents are over there, my auntie's over there, his mom is over there. So they're over there waiting for us.
You don't cross the border as often?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to. The only way that we can go across is like if a family member dies, we have proof of it, and then we have 5 days to go and come back. It states there on my permit. Otherwise, if I get out, there's no re-entry.
How long do you think this is gonna?
The DACA program?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had it for like 8 years now. Like 8 years. And have to renew it every 2 years. I don't know how long it's gonna go. It's every time we're gonna renew it, it's like it's an uncertainty. Like, what are we gonna do to renew it? Like, is the law going to change? Is Trump trying to take it away? What's going to happen? You never know. You have people in Congress going back and forth about it, and they don't actually come to an agreement. So we're just like in the ether, in the limbo, just hanging there.
What would be ideal for you? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see them to actually give us a chance for citizenship, residency, and citizenship. I think we've proven ourselves, to a certain extent, that we're good members of the community. We pay our taxes. I think it's only fair that we get a chance to actually get the residency and the path to citizenship. That would be ideal.
What would you say is blocking you now from citizenship?
Just the law. They're just like we're allowed to stay, but we're not allowed to go. We're allowed to visit any U.S. territory, but we're not allowed to go anywhere else. We're not allowed to leave the country. So I mean, if the law changes, then that would be ideal.
And that's the terms of the...
That's one way. The other way would be to marry an American citizen. That's the other way. But I'm waiting for the law to change. That's all I can do. I basically feel like a prisoner. I can work and I can do almost anything I can, but I can't go visit my family. That's like 30 minutes away. Right over the border. It's not like I live in Oregon, Michigan, or Minnesota. I'm in San Diego. I'm minutes away. Obviously, we want to see them too. But in the meantime, we got to settle for this, which is great. But it's like still not enough. You can touch their fingertips. Only about like this much of my finger can actually go through.
Is it worth it, you think?
It's worth just being here. It's just, you see the sadness when you actually are there at the fence, being this far away from your loved ones. It's actually very sad. Every time I'm here, it's a sad moment. I can never really hug them the way I want to. It's like you can feel it.
I didn't know that's how the DACA program was about.
It's the way it works for now.
So the families, yes, the family drama is real and powerful and just constant. Yeah, last Sunday there was action and they had to close it for an hour, and I was walking up and I saw a family walking down. I asked them, how did your visit go? They said we couldn't go in. They were from here in San Diego. Their family was from Michoacan. Hadn't seen each other in 18 years. They'd travel hours and hours. And they got to, they're 90 feet away at the two walls talking to each other on a cell phone instead of being able to go in. So the visits are often born of very hard circumstances. We see a lot of people taking their children to meet the grandparents through the fence. The grandparents have never been able, Skyped and FaceTimed and chatted, but they've never been able to touch their grandkids, right? And they get to touch their grandkids' fingertips through the fence. So sometimes we use the language of mixed status families. You might have a single extended family, and within that extended family, across the branches of the family, you might have some people who are U.S. citizens. You might have some people who are legally residing in the United States, permanent residents. You might have people who are undocumented, having crossed or stayed illegally in the United States. You would have people who are U.S. citizens but living back in Mexico, right? You would have Mexican nationals who have visas to come to the U.S., and you would have Mexican nationals who, for different reasons, mainly income, can't get to the United States. You can have all those statuses in one family, right? Mixed status families, binational families. In Spanish, the word is fronterizo. La cultura fronteriza, the border culture. These families are profoundly connected and committed to one another, but in all kinds of circumstances, they can't actually be together physically. So I would just encourage people who maybe have to try to wrap their head around it to think about their own family reunion. This, for some people, is the place they get to have their family reunions. A very unusual and extreme environment, but one that still brings the family together.
They don't have the resources for that. That's why they can't.
Toda esa familia de Michoacán?
Yeah.
How far is that?
About like 3,000 miles away. I mean, FaceTiming with them is great and everything, but being able to actually see them face to face is something else. It's sad, and it's like a happy sad moment at the same time, because you're able to see them, you're able to actually touch them and speak to them, you know.
You're not like touching,
You're just tip to tip, basically. You can't get a full-on hug like we would like, but it's better than just seeing them by FaceTime.
You think you'd ever move back to Mexico?
I don't think so.
You sort of get used to it, and then you don't realize how much it impacts your overall well-being and your physiology. Some people live their whole lives with that, and so just because some people have gotten used to it because it's been their experience their whole lives doesn't mean that it doesn't impact people's well-being. The border culture, not from the sort of like food and happiness and community side, but a culture that values security and vigilance over human rights, absolutely impact people's day-to-day lives.